This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Ever wondered how you could turn your side hustle into a full-time gig and spend more time together?
Hi, I'm Vikki, a #1 best-selling author.
And I'm John, a retired Los Angeles police officer. Welcome to Dig the Well, where we help couples navigate the world of business.
We've been married for 35 years, and because we built a successful side business, John retired 9 years earlier than he originally planned from the Los Angeles Police Department after 25 years on the job. Now we spend more time together, and we want to help couples like you do the same.
Join us as we help you overcome common obstacles, and we show you how to make extra income without sacrificing family time.
Ready to dig deep and build your well? Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Dig the Well.
Hello.
It's an odd background we have.
Yeah, I like
You
it.
know what it looks like? It looks like one of the backgrounds that you can choose from. Like on Zoom, you can choose a different background.
Oh, yeah, it does. It
But I'll
does.
just show you guys. It's not a
This
fake
is
background.
real.
Yeah. So we're at this really unique hotel. And if any of you have been there, just comment if you would and let us know what you thought of it. It's the Gaylord Hotel, which is an odd name, right? The Gaylord Hotel in the Gaylord Texan is what they call it. It's
Yes.
here in near Dallas, Texas, or in Dallas, Texas. And they have a couple of them, right? They have like 4 or 5 Gaylord hotels. We were at another one in Tennessee at the Opryland
In Nashville.
in Nashville, yeah. And don't know if I really like that one so much, but this one's really kind of cool. It's like a miniature Disneyland.
Yeah.
It actually brings me back to memories of when my mom and dad took me and my sister when we were little kids to Disneyland. Because it
Oh,
looks just like this and it has the same smell. And I
Oh.
don't know about you guys, but odors bring back a lot of memories for me.
yeah.
I think it does for most people.
Yeah.
And it's the water, right? If you're ever on any of the water rides at Disneyland, it has a unique smell to it. Like pools don't smell the same way.
Right.
Other bodies of water don't smell like that, but they're always crystal clear. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking it has something to do with the sanitizing of the water.
Love it. Love it.
Hey, so what's this episode going to be on?
So we're on location because our company is having this massive launch of a new product. And we thought about innovation and how companies that are true innovators are the ones that stand the test of time. So it's going to be all about innovation today
Yeah,
with entrepreneurship.
yeah, because that's one thing we learned over the last couple of days here is this company that we're a part of, and we've already said who it is, right? It's not a big surprise with
Yeah.
Neora. They are
Neora.
true innovators, and what they've come up with is something that's brand new. We're in a space no one else is in. We have no competitors in it, and it has there's a huge demand for what this product does, and it's because they're such innovators. They've been working on this for years with a number of different companies, a number of different scientists, and different sources, and Neora was able to put it all together and with all of their innovation and figure out how to bring this to market and be the first to market.
And we might talk about that later, but
Yeah.
we wanted to jump into the companies that are innovative. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys know these companies, and they're massive, right? And they're massive successes because they were able to innovate. Like the first one that comes to mind is what?
Apple.
Apple, right?
Yeah. Apple, right?
And what did they do that was so innovative?
Well, I know they originally computers, as everybody knows, way, way back in the day. And then they had a lull, right? They were not doing as well from what I remember.
Yeah, so if you think, I think they started back in 1970. God, I think it was the early 70s. And they started with it wasn't even their own stuff. They weren't manufacturing anything. They weren't really, I guess they really weren't innovators back then. What they were doing were building motherboards, and they were putting other people's components together and selling them. And then it just kept growing and growing. But what catapulted them to success was their innovation. So I think the entire
iPod was
world.
next. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say the entire world uses cellular phones in a different fashion than they did before Apple jumped into the game, right? When
Right.
that first Apple iPhone came out, I remember my partner at work was like, hey, you got to check this thing out. And he was so excited about it.
Right.
And he showed me his phone, and I thought, wow, that is pretty cool. So we actually drove to a store, and I bought one for myself.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gabe. But it changed the way the world uses their devices, a phone.
Right. And phones became little mini computers that you carry around. That is so true, where they just used to be a device to make phone calls and text, but not a mini computer. So yeah, they really innovated, and look at them now.
I know. Right? And think, their computer sales were always pretty good, but then they focused on just their iPhones. And then, of course, Steve Jobs lost his job.
Yeah, that was sad.
Kind of a shocker.
Yeah.
Right? The guy who changed the world, that made Apple who they are. But anyways.
Was that before or after the smartphone that he lost his job?
I believe after. But anyways, he came back, and then the focus was on the iPod, which was going to change how the world listens to music, and it absolutely did, right? If you wanted to listen to any kind of mobile music, you had the old Sony Walkman.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Cassette. Then they had those giant CD Walkman things.
Yeah. I had one. I still have it. I kept it just in case it's worth something someday.
And it always skips.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he comes up with this tiny little thing that holds way more music, doesn't skip, super easy. And it just changed the way the world listens to music.
Yeah. And now look at all the streaming music now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I remember kids were like in junior high or something when that was all happening. I think.
And then talking about streaming, look at Netflix.
Yeah.
I think if for those of you who remember, because we are old enough to remember all the video stores, right?
Right.
All the
Blockbuster
VHS tapes, and Be Kind Rewind was always on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they charge you extra if you didn't rewind.
Yeah, they did. 75 cents usually. Which now is like nothing, but back then you were like, you didn't want to part with your 75 cents.
I remember going to the store with a whole bunch of other people up and down the aisles of the Blockbuster, right? The local Blockbuster, and seeing they have the boxes out, and you'd pick the box. For those of you guys who don't know what this is all about, there were shelves, and you'd go to the different sections. Like if you're looking for comedy, you'd go there and you find something, a title you like, you take the box up to the counter, you show them your little Blockbuster card, then they go and find the tape that goes in that box.
I thought, you're right.
In there, and then off you go.
And then you're supposed to rewind it, or they charge you 75 cents, or whatever it was.
We were such dorks. We had like a decent player, like the VHS.
VHS player,
What it was called? I don't remember.
VCR.
Yeah, VC, whatever it was.
But anyway.
Yeah, I think that's right. We had a decent one, right? And we were watching like multiple tapes like at a time at a sitting. So we didn't want to wait for the rewind, because the rewind took a lot of time. So we bought a little separate tape rewinder.
Yeah.
So you take it out of the cassette, out of the machine, stick it in the rewinder, and it's buzzing away rewinding. And we put the next one.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought you also told me you didn't want to wear out our machine. Like it was better to rewind it and something else.
So we actually spent some decent money on the machine itself that played the tapes.
Yeah.
So that it looked a little better. It never looked that great, right? Compared to what you see now.
Yeah, that's true.
It didn't look that great. But they say that the thing that wears out the quickest on those are the constant rewind, because it's at a high speed and it wears out the parts.
But now you don't have to worry about that, because Netflix became the innovators, right, in that industry.
And Blockbuster never even knew what hit them, right? When Netflix came out with the whole, once DVDs came out, and then Netflix decided, hey, we're going to put together a subscription program to where you can get DVDs mailed to your house. You don't have to go to a store any longer. Right. Netflix doesn't have to buy up all these stores or lease all this space, retail space for stores. Instead, you just sign up for a subscription on Netflix, and you're allowed so many titles to have out at any time. Yeah. When you're done, you just stick them in your mailbox, and it goes right back to Netflix.
But the crazy thing about that, they talk about innovation and forward thinking. They called themselves Netflix, and I already thought that was strange, because they had those DVDs, and I thought that was cuckoo, because what if you didn't return the DVD? I guess they had your credit card. They could have charged you for it. Or what if it got lost in the mail? All that stuff. But they were already forward thinking enough to know they were going to be streaming movies on. They had to have been, because why else would you call it Netflix back then? You would have called it DVD flicks. This is what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Or mail flicks. That sounds right. It sounds like a porn.
So they knew what they were going to do 10, 20 years ahead of time.
I think so.
Yeah.
And the thing about it now, everything is being streamed.
Yeah.
Again, Netflix was ahead of the game.
And they were smart enough to also put production companies together in-house to now they're one of the biggest companies out there making movies.
Gosh, you're going to take over the world.
Yeah. It's kind of great.
But yeah, that's just another example of innovators, right? And now look at what a giant Netflix is.
Yeah. And then the next one we wanted to talk about is Amazon. Started with books. I think people forget that. We think of Amazon, you get to order anything you want on there, but it started as a book company.
Yeah.
Right. So they had to have been forward thinking there too.
Yeah. And then I think is Audible, are they part of
Amazon? I think if they're not, they're on there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon somehow owns Audible, because they had to have realized that people would rather listen to books than actually read them. I like reading books.
Right.
But I also like listening to books too.
I like both. Right.
Sometimes you're busy, you're doing other things, but you still want to, like podcasts, for instance, right? A lot of people, I think most people listen to podcasts while they're doing something else.
Right. Right. And Bezos used to be the richest man in the world because everything he's done with Amazon. But now Tesla, the next one we want to lead into, now Elon Musk isn't he the richest right now?
Yeah, by far. And then you think about
Tesla,
all the things that Elon Musk has done, like PayPal and so many other businesses that he's put together, and they've all been successful. Pretty much all of them have.
Right.
And then because he's an innovator, right? It doesn't matter what he's like Midas, right? It doesn't really matter what he touches, it's going to be successful.
Right.
And whether you like Elon Musk or not, or whether you like Doge, what he's doing with the government or not, is not the point. The point is that we're trying to make right now is it's just that he is such an innovator, and look what he did with the automotive industry. Other companies other people have tried that, building a car, and they've all failed, because when you go up against the giants, right? In America, it's the big three. They what does Mr. Wonderful always say in Shark Tank? They'll crush you like the cockroaches that you are.
Exactly.
Right. And
you can get mad at him or not, but it's the truth. Yes, the truth.
Absolutely the truth. How are you going to compete against that? And there's so many really good ideas that people come up with, but it's so hard to go against these big, giant, established companies that really own the market share. Unless
you're an innovator, I think, right?
Yeah, but there still are a lot of good innovators that just don't have the resources to go against, is what I'm saying.
True.
And at least with Musk, he did, because he had so many other successful businesses, and he had enough money that he was able to get backing to then get Tesla up and running, and at least get that proof of a concept car, that first Roadster out. And of course it worked. And then the Model S followed. I think they started production in 2012. So it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And now look, they've got the Cybertruck, and whether you like the Cybertruck or not, we've got one. We love it. There is not one thing we don't like about it.
Yeah, right? There's one thing. It doesn't sound like a diesel truck.
Oh.
I have to admit, I missed that.
Yeah.
Like our daughter Misa has a American-made diesel truck, and so she met us somewhere, and I had my back turned to the entrance to the parking lot, and I knew when she arrived. You can't miss that sound when she pulled in the parking lot, and it just sounded so cool.
Yeah. You do miss that.
Maybe they need to do like a software update on because the truck does have speakers on it, right? So they have this pedestrian warning system that they have on their cars. So basically, when you're driving at slow speed, either forward or reverse, it makes an odd little noise. So it just warns people that, hey, there's a vehicle or something's coming your way.
Right.
If they could do that to make it sound like a full-size diesel truck, that would look cool.
That'd be cool.
Because I know BMW does that. And if you guys own BMW, sorry about this, but we had an Audi, a V8 Audi before. It was one of their an RS.
We're big Audi people still.
Which is kind of their race inspired vehicles. And that thing had a fairly loud exhaust, and it sounded so cool.
Yeah.
And BMW, the competing car with BMW, didn't have the same sound, and they later put a turbocharged V6 in it. But in order to enhance the sound, they had the interior speakers simulate the sound of a V8 exhaust.
Wow!
So it was tied to the car's accelerator. So the harder you accelerated, the louder and more robust the sound was in the interior speaker. So it kind of faked you into thinking you had an Audi when you were driving that Beamer. But I will say this, a buddy of mine, actually my old partner, we used to carpool, and he had an M5, and it did sound kind of cool.
That's cool.
You could have the windows up and it still sounded kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was a cool car.
Yeah. And now switching gears completely, the fifth innovative company we want to talk about is Airbnb. Whether you like Airbnb or not, whether you've had a good experience with them or not, we've had mostly bad. Sorry, Airbnb, but they're very much innovators. And I mean, look at hotels. They're competing with big hotels like this.
Yeah, we know a lot of people who would prefer an Airbnb over a hotel room.
Right.
And we're kind of the other way around. We prefer a hotel room over an Airbnb.
Just because we've had a few of the people that misrepresented themselves on the Airbnb site. It's not Airbnb in particular, because they were actually really good about giving our money back or a credit. So shout out to Airbnb for that. But the people that weren't telling the truth about what we were renting wasn't the best. So that's why we stopped using it. But wow, what innovation is that people would ever think? Well, let's talk about the homeowners that maybe rent a room out, maybe live near a resort or a beach town, and they rent a little room or something. They're making some extra money, and good for them. How cool is that?
Yeah, for sure. But I know, again, you have to look at both. There's some other consequences with Airbnbs with short-term rentals, right? I know in a lot of places, they're making short-term rentals illegal.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the neighbors in that neighborhood, they're not excited about having people coming in every couple of days, new people coming in, because they can be noisy, they can leave trash behind. So I know a lot of places are trying to get away from these short-term rentals.
Right. And when they rent those big mansions out, those neighbors, because then they'll have huge parties. That's true. There's been a lot of challenges with that.
Up in the Hollywood Hills, there's a couple of mansions that's all those places are. The owners have them. They bought them, and they've never lived in them. They have no intention of living in them. But the people who own them have them just as party houses.
Right.
And so they lease them, rent them out as simply just a party house. And there's trouble at those houses every single weekend.
Right.
And the neighbors there are just so tired of it. The noise that goes on all night long and all the traffic. Because up in the Hollywood Hills, the roads are very narrow and winding.
Right.
And there's some people who live up there that have been up there for decades, and they just want the peace and quiet.
Yeah. I wouldn't like. So there's good and bad. So yeah.
And then I just wanted to, because I was pretty negative on Airbnb, but Vic said that we had an issue one time, and Airbnb their customer service was outstanding.
Yeah.
They actually had it was in Japan, and the representative from Japan, who also spoke English, wanted to meet with us and was so apologetic because she looked into it, and she actually did extra research, because she said, I was able to even look to see what they posted for pictures of their rental, and they've changed them since you booked your rental.
Yeah.
And the pictures they posted were not the same place.
Yeah, we walk in and it was nothing like the pictures we had seen. That's why we said misrepresented.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. But anyway, so Airbnb, their customer service is at least back then, it was outstanding.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's also a key factor in a company sustaining and growing and standing the test of time is great customer service. Even though that's not part of innovation, that's like the backbone, in my opinion, of a great company.
Yeah.
Is to stand behind their product, stand behind their service. Yeah.
And I think most people want to feel confident about what they're buying, what they're spending their money on. And
Right.
And having good customer service certainly goes a long way.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say was it Airbnb you were going to talk about?
No, I was going to segue.
Okay. I was going to say, I just thought about this too, as we were talking about Airbnb. Probably even more so than Airbnb is Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Right. Look at how that has changed how people instead of taking a taxi. And oftentimes, instead of just driving yourselves, like instead of driving a vehicle to the airport and paying for airport parking and getting our car dinged up and scratched or possibly getting dinged up and scratched, sometimes it's more convenient for us let's just order a ride share.
Right.
Take that to the airport and a ride share to get back home. And then we don't have to worry about the driving, not any of that. So that to me, it seems like they were so innovative because they completely changed how we now take taxis and get around.
Completely. So, yeah, and absolutely, it's employed a lot of people. You don't really call that employment, but it's helped entrepreneurs. If you think about it, Uber drivers are finding a new way of making money. So in a sense, they're an entrepreneur. They're independent contractors. They're not employees. And that is really cool.
And we've talked to so many of them because I love talking to them because to me, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a taxi, hey, so what do you do for a living? And they're thinking, well, dummy, what do you think?
Taxi.
You're in the back of a taxi. But with Uber and Lyft, generally speaking, this is like a side gig for them.
Yeah.
It's just a way to make a few extra bucks, especially they've already got the equipment they need, right? They have a driver's license, they have insurance, and they have a vehicle.
Right.
I mean, what more do you need? And so they have the equipment they need to make money in this. And then Uber, I think, was the first to figure this thing out. Actually, what's weird is if you follow what Uber did, they didn't start out as like the mom and dad, like mom drops the kids off at school in the morning and then doesn't have to pick them up until afternoon. So what does she do in the meantime? She takes the minivan out and gives people rides. That's not how Uber started. Uber started as a black car service, as a luxury black car service.
That's right.
And then they evolved into and shifted and figured, hey, we've got to innovate because it's not really working. And then they went into offering like everyday people to use their everyday cars to get lesser, the less expensive rides, not the luxury black car rides.
Yeah, that's a big deal and very, very cool. So I wanted to segue into products, companies that also offer products that are innovative, that are groundbreaking, changing the way the world uses or does things. And we mentioned we were here for Neora, and it's such an exciting time because we are the innovators in skincare and wellness products. We are, and maybe some of you guys didn't know that, but we have been ahead of the game on so many different things. And one of them is a plant-based alternative to retinol. We've had that since 2014. Now you're starting to see companies talk about that in 2025. You guys, look at that, 11 years ahead of the game. And it's because we seek out these botanicals from all over the world. We seek out the scientists that are developing them. And at this conference, we found out more about our new product that is going to revolutionize the tox. I'm not going to say names, but the tox that's going on up here. People are shooting with needles into the toxins, into their forehead. The fillers, I could say that people are putting in their face. We have the plant-based alternative to that delivers results better than the needles and toxins that they're putting into their skin. And so I actually wanted to show it to you guys because this is a true innovation. This is our no-filler. Maybe that's better back here. No-filler. We did something fun. See how it's shaped like a needle, but it's not a needle. It's actually a liquid comes out, and we call it an elixir. But that's also a true innovation. And it's actually teaching and training your skin to plump and fill itself. We heard from the scientists, but this is going to be groundbreaking. There has not been one friend that I have talked to about it, told them we're coming out with this, that didn't say, I want some of that. Not even one friend that said, I'm not interested. So think about that. Like if we want to equate it to Netflix and Uber and Amazon, people are doing things differently. People don't want to age ungracefully. People just want to age gracefully. We want to be the best version of ourselves. And a lot of people have thought about, would I ever do a filler when I start losing, volume, when I start getting tons of wrinkles, and men, a lot of them probably not. They're like, well, no, that's for women. But the beautiful thing is we have tons of men that want this because nobody wants to look horrible as they age, right? We wake up, you always say you don't wake up and look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, look at all those wrinkles, yay.
Yeah, right. Got another one. Yeah, because now that we have this, I want to try, because I get like the normal, like
the
little
forehead
lines,
lines. Yeah.
And I get these little 2 lines here and then around here. Not the mosquito bites. The mosquito bites are starting to heal up.
Yeah, they're
going away.
They're healing.
The little parentheses thing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to try that and see how much that's going to help. But I would never even consider it in some sort of
injectable.
Not at all.
But a topical.
Yeah, but that I would do.
Right. So even our son said that, hey, I'm going to try it out too. And you guys, oops, I just dropped it. That's okay. I'll get it in a second. But I've been using it for 3 weeks. I don't know if you can see on here. You could go to previous episodes, but look how dewy my skin looks even. And it's plumping. I had some issues over here. I'll hold this over here. I had some issues where the smile lines were remaining when I wasn't smiling anymore. Anyone else? That happens as we age. But they're lessening. I had a diagonal line every morning when I woke up. I thought it was going away after a few hours. And after I put the filler on, the Neo filler, I mentioned it to John. That line is gone. And John's all, oh, yeah, I know that line. So he had been seeing it, but he was so nice not to say anything. But it's gone now. It's gone. It's crazy what it's already doing. And it's going to plump, these hollowed areas that start to happen as we age. You do want to give it 90 days for sure to see the huge dramatic change because it compounds on itself. But what an innovation. Yeah. What an innovation. Right. And can we talk about Neora too on that?
Yeah.
That we started with a night cream. Some of you guys have heard about Neora before. It was called Nerium International back in the day, only 14 years ago. And it was a night cream. And we were the night cream company. And we broke all the records, did 100 million our first year, 300 million in 2 years, went on to be $1 billion company in under 4 years, all because of that night cream. Well, then because of the success of that and the innovators that we are, we came out with a hair care system that was truly and still is ahead of its time, true innovators. On scalp health, we talked about scalp health in 2019. Now, just the last couple of years, everybody in their country cousins talking about scalp health. So same thing, innovators. Our weight loss, fat browning, innovative. And just now, that came out in 2021. Now a few companies are talking about fat browning, but we were the first. So I'm saying all that to say this, that, and we have a brain health supplement too. Forgot about that. That is unbelievable. And yet you see now companies talking about brain health. But this new product, we are going to now be the filler company, be known as the alternative to tox and filler. We are now, people aren't going to necessarily think of Neora as skincare, hair care, wellness, and weight loss anymore. It's going to be, oh yeah, that filler company like Netflix has done, right? And so much more. So I don't know if you want to tag on to that. You're so good with words, but
no.
I want to make sure everybody knows that when you're part of an innovative company, that's job security, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
We're not going anywhere.
The other thing too, that every one of the innovators that we talked about earlier, that they all have in common, right, is they're all, I believe, all of them are traded on the stock exchange. They're all publicly held companies.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that
Every single one of them, if you had invested when at day one at their IPO or soon after their IPO, you would be filthy rich today. Even if you had invested only $1,000. I think with Apple, I saw a number somewhere where they said if you had invested $1,000 at Apple's IPO, it would be worth today $250 million for a $1,000 investment. So, I mean, Tesla's the same way. If you look at and every one of them, right? Every single one of them. Well, Neora isn't a publicly held company, so you can't invest in the company. Instead, you can invest in yourself and become like what we do and be a brand partner.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost that much. They give you all the systems, everything you need to be successful, and you can turn that into a multi-million-dollar investment.
Right. We've done it.
We've already done it.
We took our $1,000 investment where we got product. So it's not like you're just dumping money.
That's the other thing. Right.
So we took that $1,000, got product for it that we sold, sampled, whatever, tax write-off too, because it was product to sample, and $1 million earners. We've turned it into more than $1 million in earnings.
Yeah, and that investment was never at risk because you received product for it. And the other thing I was going to say about the investment is most of the time when you're investing in these IPOs, when you're investing in these companies, these are fledgling companies that have no track record. So it is a very risky investment. But that's where a lot of the best money is to be made, right? The companies that are going to give you supersized returns on your investment are companies that are at high risk. If you're investing in a stable company, such as any of the ones we just talked about, if you invest today in them, your return would be very minimal. You're not going to lose a lot, but you're not going to make a lot either. It's a very stable company. But if you can find another company that you want to throw your money at that's risky, that may or may not make it, and probably is unlikely to make it, right? Because most companies fail.
Right.
If they should happen to succeed, your investment is going to be supersized. Well, what's great about what we're doing with Neora's got a 14-year track record. They've been successful, like Vikki already pointed out. Made in their first year $100 million in sales.
Million.
Yeah. 300 million by the second year. And by the end of the fourth year, I think they are already at $1 billion in sales. They set all kinds of records. They're very successful. 14 years later, they're still in business and they're still thriving and they're still innovating and they're still coming out with new products. So here's a new product. It's almost like a startup company, right? With this new product because it's so groundbreaking.
Right.
And yet there's no risk. You've got a company that's strong, that knows how to do business, not only domestically, but internationally. It's the same management team, essentially, as they've had from the very beginning. Same CEO, same founders still involved. The same company.
Father-daughter team, which is so cool.
So it's just, for us, we're just so excited because this is going to be, we're going to remember this day and this weekend forever because this is what's going to just send our business just skyward like crazy. And it already has been super successful.
Yes. And you can be part of it. We are offering our hand out to you to say, hey, join us. Join us. We will teach you everything we know. And that goes for any brand partner that has shared with you. Seriously. Go ahead.
Bringing that up too. If someone from Neora has reached out to you before you've heard this from us, if they shared product with you, if they sampled product with you, if they've explained the business, reach out to them.
Yes.
And reach out to them to be a part of their business because we believe in the integrity of this culture of the business that we're in.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to steal anyone.
Right. Not at all. And that's what sets Neora apart also. There are no tribes. If you have ever done a direct sales business and you felt like there were, these leaders wouldn't work with this group and so on, there is none of that here. And and like you said about poaching, that's the term that's used in the industry when you try to steal somebody else's person that they'd already been talking to. We are not about that. We do not poach. You can be assured of that. But that being said, you get to choose who you want to go with. But we just recommend if somebody's already talked to you, they got out of their comfort zone. That's where the risk is, actually. If there's any risk at all, it's you getting out of your comfort zone to try something new and offer to friends. And you should be rewarded for that.
Yep.
So that's why we're so big on, talk to the person that invited you first.
Yeah.
But it's such a great company. I agree, John. I'm so glad you brought the fact up that we won't forget where we are when we heard about it for the first time, when we heard the scientists that we did. They flew in scientists from Brazil to speak to us. But make no mistake, Neora's corporate team, headed up by Juliana Rochelle, which is our product formulator, and Amber Olson-Rourke herself, formulated this, innovated all these ingredients, brought them together from all over the world. Even though all these scientists spoke, they weren't collaborating with each other without Neora. Neora is who brought all of this together, this true innovation in filler. And here's the box. Just want you to see the box. No-filler is the name. You want to get your hands on it if you just want to be a customer. But if you want to make some great income, because it will become a household name, Neora will be a household name, and so will no-filler, you definitely want to get involved. So I think that's it for today. We're excited about innovation, and we want you to join us and have the best time of your life for sure.
Yeah, I think. What are we going to do now? We're going to head down into a little Disneyland over there, get some breakfast.
Get some breakfast and fly out and talk to all y'all about the no-filler when we're back home. So make it a great day. We love having you with us. And please share this podcast if you're enjoying it. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Dig the Well.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to take on new challenges.
Remember, if we can do it, so can you. Keep learning, keep believing, and going after your dreams.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or maybe a nudge in the right direction.
Help us grow this community of go-getters. Together, we can achieve greatness and get back to family.
Thanks for listening, and let's keep digging the well.